Penelope dressed quickly. The popping still echoed in her mind, but at least the images were fading with consciousness. She'd have to thank Deeg for his understanding. Not many humans, and far fewer aliens, would be so forgiving when having a gun pulled on them. With a deep breath, she rooted herself in the present and walked out into the hallway.
Focus pen.
As the doors to the bridge slid open, Deeg had taken his seat, but Gareth was standing at her station.
We were halfway to our jump point when the sensors picked up an odd signal coming from the asteroid cloud at the edge of the system. Gareth is at your con checking it out, but can't make much of it. It's too faint,
the captain said.
Come look. See if you can make frills or webs of it. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was a Terran signal, but that's impossible. This far outside their territory, a weak signal, not an SOS as far as I could tell. It's just odd.
Gareth moved from the console so Penelope could have a look. She looked at the waveform on the screen and lifted an audio device to her ear. The faintest repeating sound could be heard. There was interference and the signal was weak, but a pattern was clear. There was something familiar about it, though, something she couldn't place. For some reason, an old boot camp memory popped into her head. Reading a weapons manual with her squad mates.
Why am I thinking of that of all things?
Waving the thought from her mind, she refocused on the signal.
I think it is Terran, but you're right, Gareth. It's not an SOS. And even a disabled ship's emergency transponder should be far stronger than whatever this is.
Well, a mystery begs to be solved.
Deeg started.
Captain.
Gareth stopped short as the captain's paw came up.
Well, get only close enough to determine what the signal really is. Provide aid if it's needed, but otherwise we can leave a buoy for the... What? The Tinsne have a claim of this system, yes? We'll leave a buoy and let them know what we found.
Understood, Captain.
Shall I change course, sir?
Ton'et asked, sitting at navigation.
Yes, but measured, please. For now, let's just get close enough to clear the signal up and see what we're dealing with.
After what amounted to 10 Terran minutes, they'd halve the distance from the signal source.
It's definitely human, sir.
Penelope said, still studying the waveform with disbelief.
It is an emergency signal of some kind, but not an SOS, and it can't be coming from a UEMC ship. It's too simple to be an onboard AI.
Ton, bring us close enough to do a detailed scan of the area, please.
Yes, sir.
They engaged the sublight engines once more. Again, the distance was halved. At this point, they were moving into the asteroid cloud. It was dense as asteroid fields go, but nowhere near dense enough to pose navigational issues. The real threat was micro-debris flying at high speeds, but the freighter's shields were practically designed to handle such things.
Initiating scan of the local area,
Penelope said. A high-pitched pulsing sound resounded through the hull and her screen lit up with information.
It looks like there's a derelict ship floating along with that cluster of asteroids, 40 degrees.
So, it is a Terran ship signal?
Deeg questioned.
No, the ship seems to be Tinsne design, and the signal isn't coming from the ship, but from something in its cargo bay.
This just keeps getting weirder and weirder.
Gareth spoke up.
Any other ships in the area? This can't be some kind of trap.
Nothing on sensors. And it's a weird trap, isn't it? A faint Terran signal that isn't any kind of SOS in non-Terran space. Most people would just keep on flying, and the ship isn't transmitting any emergency signals either.
Life signs aboard?
Deeg asked.
None. I'm getting nothing other than that odd human signal. Honestly, Captain, I think I should go aboard. I'll check the cargo bay and determine what this is. If this is a trap, well...
She looked to see Captain Deeg with clear intention.
Fine. But I don't like the idea of you going alone. Gareth and I will come with...
Absolutely not, Captain. You cannot be put in danger like that. We have no clue what we'll find over there.
Gareth spoke up. Even his frills seemed to shudder with conviction.
I have to say I agree with Gareth. The captain's safety is paramount.
Well...
Deeg huffed.
Looks like I've been outvoted. Very well.
I'll go, sir.
Ton'et piped up.
My knowledge may prove useful in uncovering what's happened.
Dag simply looked at Penelope.
That's fine, but while we're over there, if we encounter anything, you'll both stay behind me and do as I say. Understood?
She let her gaze sit on both Gareth and Ton'et for a time. Both motioned in the affirmative.
Very well. We'll head to the airlock.
Deeg held up a paw and motioned to Penelope.
The two of you head to the airlock and prep. I'd like a word with Penelope.
Gareth and Ton'et left the bridge as Penelope moved closer to Deeg, who in turn leaned in and began speaking quietly.
Best bring that firearm of yours if you weren't already. If either of them makes a fuss, you can tell them that it was my decision to keep it under the crew's snouts. Poor Thwill was near a heart attack without knowing you had Terran weaponry, I can only imagine. One of these days you really must explain your people's obsession with such lethal tools. But for now, go.
With a nod, Penelope left the bridge. She stopped first at her room and retrieved the sidearm and then made her way to the starboard airlock. As she met up with her boarding party, both Gareth and Ton'et had breathers on, and Gareth handed her one as well.
No breathable atmosphere for any of us, so here.
Thanks,
she said, as she affixed the metal device to her face. There was jostling as the ships lined up, and the airlock clamp mechanism engaged. With that, the all-clear sign on the door console flashed, and the door behind them slammed shut and locked. Penelope, motioning the other two to line up behind her, tapped the open button on the console. A burst of air hit them as the airlock opened and the pressure equalized. Looking into the derelict ship, it was mostly dark, save for some emergency lights that only lit the floor. The only other lights were flashing red and mounted at intersections or turns in a corridor. Penelope's breather hissed.
Stay behind me!
She drew her Mk8 from its holster and moved into the corridor. Both Gareth and Ton'et noted the firearm, but simply nodded, or their species equivalent, and followed behind her. Instantly, they all noticed an increase in gravity. Still light for Penelope, about 2/3 of Earth's. Ton'et was most affected by the change. Gareth seemed to handle it well enough.
Increase in gravity.
Gareth called out.
It's my understanding this is not the Tinsne norm.
Nevertheless, they all pushed onward, turning right out of the airlock and down the corridor. Penelope moved slowly. Each step was measured. Her eyes darted from wall to floor for any sign of a trap. IEDs, false flooring, motion sensors. Nothing. It was silent too, and yet she could hear her old battle buddy complaining.
I'm never going to memorize this whole thing, Pen.
Well, you'd better. Drill sergeant will have your ass if you don't. Besides, look at it this way. Are you ever going to need most of this info? No. But one bit of something in here might save your life one day, and then you'll be grateful you spent the time.
Think I'll take that life-threatening situation over the drill sergeant.
She chuckled.
What is it?
Ton'et asked.
Nothing. Ask me again when we're back at the ship.
They'd made it to the end of the corridor, which turned left. There were 2 closed doors halfway down, and at the end, it seemed to turn left again.
I guess the bridge behind the right door,
Gareth said quietly.
Agreed. Stay here.
She held out a hand before moving forward alone. As she made it to the door, she didn't move in front of it. Instead, she sidled up against the wall and tapped the control panel, which lit up. It read, "Open" and "Close" in Tinsnean. Carefully tapping open, the door opened with a loud whoosh and nothing else. More silence. Same stagnant air. After a short pause, Penelope checked the corners and cleared the room. Empty.
All clear.
Gareth and Ton'et moved into the room. It was definitely the bridge, but there was no crew.
No sign of a struggle. Hell, no sign of anything. This place is in near pristine condition save for its utter lack of personnel.
Gareth commented, looking around. Tapping a panel, it lit up, displaying nominal systems. All things clear across the board.
It's as if the whole crew just decided to what? Leave? Did they maybe have a second ship and just abandon this one here?
Ton'et proposed as they too looked at a systems console.
But why would they just up and leave?
Penelope asked.
I'm not sure. Everything looks clear here. No biohazard warnings, no attacks.
Gareth perused the ship's log.
It just ends abruptly. Last log is an all-clear transmission sent somewhere assuring that their cargo had been secured.
Does it list the cargo?
No, that's odd. There's no manifest.
Black market traders? Smuggling something?
And then just leaving their haul for no reason?
Miss Penelope, you said the signal was coming from the cargo bay.
Ton'et interrupted.
Yay, that's what the ship's scan indicated. Why?
Well, there is minimal power drain throughout the ship, which makes sense, except I'm reading a not insignificant amount of power being drained by something in the cargo bay.
So,
Gareth started organizing the facts.
Terran's signal. Not an SOS, but something. And it needs power. There was no attack and no biohazard incident. Something happened, and the crew simply decided to leave their perfectly functioning ship in the asteroid cloud of this system.
I think the cargo bay will have our answer.
Ton'et said.
Agreed. But quick checks of the rest of the ship first. I'm not a fan of surprises.
Penelope responded.
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. And if you're feeling generous, check out our Ko-Fi page to support the channel. Every bit helps us bring you more stories from the stars. Thanks a bunch.